Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we will be local plant nursery shopping at Calloways Nursery off of Lemon Avenue in Dallas, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting that like button for this video and subscribing to my channel for daily plant content. I do 1 hour plant shopping videos, so make sure you have the notification bell on, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. That is the fastest way to get in touch with me. But anyways, we are in downtown Dallas, and I'm checking out a couple of Calloways that are further down south from North Dallas, which is where I'm based at. So I wanted to check out this Calloways nursery. As you can see here, the interior has a ton of different types of seeds. Now, for those that have been following my plant shopping videos for the last 5 months, I do these plant shopping videos at either big box stores or local plant nurseries. I just happen to be on this roll where I want to show a bunch of these local plant nurseries in the Dallas Fort Worth area, which is where I'm based at. And Calloways Nursery is a nursery chain of nurseries all over the Dallas Fort Worth area. There are so many locations. I happen to cover most of the ones out in North Dallas, so I wanted to go further south into actual downtown Dallas to see what their Callaway nurseries look like. They have a wide range of plants, and today is a Memorial Day weekend, so I wanted to make sure that I captured a couple of sales, if they have any sales, and so forth. So plant foldies, for those that have continued to go to the live premieres at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've had a couple of rough patches this last week where I haven't been as consistent about my uploads, at least being able to premiere at that specific time. So I really wanted to make sure that I got a video for you today. Tomorrow will be a longer compilation video just because I won't have time to really film. I do have to work tomorrow, but the first plant that we have available right here is an Epipremnum aureum golden pothos in a hanging basket. Now, Callaway sells this for $24.99, and if you ever go big box or plant shopping, that is still within the range of hanging baskets. Now, I believe the hanging baskets are all on sale for 30% off today, so that would be a good, candidate to pick up in terms of just an easy to care for plant. The same thing with this Epipremnum aureum marble queen pothos. It is one of my favorite pothos plants to grow. Now, with marble queen pothos, as I've said in many of my videos, you've really got to provide it with a lot of bright indirect light for it to really maintain its variegation. It tends to revert if you don't give it enough light. And then we have these cute staghorn fern in a hanging basket for $12.99. Look at that right over here. So you can see that they have different types of ferns. Actually, that's I don't know if that is a that is a staghorn fern. Now, I've talked about putting staghorn fern and mounting it on a wooden plank. I just haven't gotten to it. And then this is a really cute Peperomia Cupid arrow. I do like the variegation on this. This one tends to get a little bit leggy. So what you need to do is make sure that you are cutting it back. You can actually take the cuttings and propagate it in water and get some more free plants. I've talked a lot about just getting plants and making sure that you stay within budget. One way to do it is just through plant propagation, trading plants with other friends and getting cuttings from other friends. I happen to get some really cool plants from Planting with Pete, who is a YouTuber as well, and I'm so thankful he was able to get me a Philodendron heteroraceum Gabby and a variegated Marantha. So I'll be sending out his plants soon, Tuesday to be exact, just because I didn't want to go ahead and send over the weekend. I didn't want any delays. And you can see right over here, we've got a beautiful purple waffle plant in a hanging basket. This is also for $12.99. The thing about Calloways is Calloways has quite a bit of selection of plants. They rival just like a big box store. Like even this right here, you could find this at Walmart or a local big box store, but I always prefer to go plant shopping at local plant nurseries, specifically Calloways. If you've seen my videos, I literally feature different types of Calloways nurseries all over the Dallas Fort Worth area. I can't really make up my mind on which one is the very best one because each one has some really nice merchandising on their plants. I will say the common denominator for all local plant nurseries, especially Calloways, is that they have healthy plants. And that's the thing about going local and just shopping at these big box stores. There is a difference between the quality of plants. Big box stores don't always have the most healthy looking plants. And again, for those that are a fan of big box store plant shopping, I don't want to sound like I'm being negative. I'm just really stating on what experiences I've had. I mean, you can't say that these neon pothos plant right here. It's super perfect. There's no issues with the leaves or anything, and that's what you get whenever you shop at a local plant nursery like Calloways. That one is for $16.99 in a 6-inch planter. And then I'm just gonna pan over here and show you a bunch of these assorted ferns. I don't really have ferns in my collection. This one is an autumn fern for $16.99, and the reason being is even today it is literally 96 degrees, although the heat index feels like it's 100 degrees. And this is just early summer, late spring, and that's the thing. With very hot weathers in North Dallas, I don't know if I can really grow plants that really require a lot of water, a lot of humidity, just because of the climate I'm in. And that's the thing about plant shopping. You really have to know your grow zones. You really have to know about your climate. And there's just a lot of factors into just growing plants in general. For me, if you ever watch my videos, and I do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me talk about plants for an hour, to be honest, I'm quite surprised that a lot of people are still tuning into my videos. I would think that you guys would get tired of me talking about plants, but I am just thankful that you guys have been able to stick around with me because I love to talk about plants. I have this thing about utilizing my YouTube channel as being more of a blog. I mean, I do a lot of plant shopping videos, but if you notice, I'll show you that staghorn fern, but also give you guys a lot of my insights, whether it's my personal life or just my thoughts about plants. And I do think it's interesting whenever you mount plants on a plank like that. There's different ways of styling plants, and with bromeliads, for instance, they come in so many different varieties and colors. I prefer these hot pink, very high contrast colors for these bromeliads. I only have one bromeliad, but it's growing well for me. I don't know so much about bromeliads, but what I do know is I let mine dry out completely, honestly, whenever I water it. I bottom water it, and that's about it. But you can see there are a wide range of different colors for bromeliads. They come in different types of shapes and sizes. Same thing with chrysanthemum. So chrysanthemum have some beautiful colors. I love the texture of the leaves. It is a little bit more serrated. This one is for $19.99. They also call this plant the Earth Star. Notice how there is some subtle pink on this particular plant. This is an easy to care for plant as well, but it's just a plant that not a lot of people talk about or really discuss. I don't know if there's a lot of people that actually grow chrysanthemum, and that is a plant that I would have never been exposed to had I not gone to like Calloways or a local plant nursery. And then over here is a beautiful Monstera Peru. I love the Monstera Peru, even if it's just a green version of it. This one is for $14.99 in a 4-inch planter. This one can grow up a totem pole and it will actually get bigger leaves, but I love the texture of the leaves. And that's the thing too. Certain plants I get into just because of a certain characteristic, whether it's the color, the stems of the colors, or even just the shape of the leaves, or even the texture. And then you can see right here, we've got a bunch of miniature Phalaenopsis orchids. These ones are for $14.99. I am going to be collecting more orchids, specifically Phalaenopsis orchids. I ran into some variegated Phalaenopsis orchids, which I will be picking up soon. I know that there's a couple of people that want to get a hold of these Phalaenopsis orchids, the variegated ones. I will eventually add more to my collection, but I really need to just stabilize my plant collection. I have probably added about 40 plants in the last 2 weeks, specifically Coleus plants, just because that is an easy and inexpensive plant. But all of these Phalaenopsis orchids are available, and here is a plant find. These are for 30% off. So these are $24.99, but these are a nice large Phalaenopsis orchid, the variegated form. Notice how the roots are green. That means that it doesn't need to be watered because it's still pretty moist. Love the color of this. It has like that that royalty, that majesty purple look on it, and I love the fact that purple is the the opposite color of yellow in the color wheel, so they really make a good contrast. Love that variegation. The variegation is literally on the borders and edges of the leaves. And with Phalaenopsis orchids, once they are done blooming, there's not a lot of interest, so having a variegated form is a nice one because there's still some leaf interest on that. Phalaenopsis orchid, I will definitely buy one today. I may end up getting this one that doesn't have the full blooms just yet, so that way the blooms will last a bit longer. When people ask me how long do Phalaenopsis orchid blooms last, they can last up to a month and a half, maybe even 2 months, just really depending on the care and the species of that Phalaenopsis orchid. There's so many different colors and varieties, and they're constantly being hybridized, so there is a variance of like what the timeline is in terms of just the bloom and how long they last. And then as I pan over here, we've got some bonsai. This one is a ficus bonsai right here, Tiger ficus bonsai. You can see that the actual stem or the trunk has been manipulated, so there's a little bit more curvature. This one is for $125. I love bonsai. That was actually a plant that I used to really create when I was really into the bonsai. I go through these cycles where I like a specific plant or I like the way a specific plant is grown. So I may go back to my bonsai phase. We'll see what that looks like. But I know plant foldies, and for those that are new to this channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. I know you've asked for more cactus and succulents. These ones are actually for 75% off. These ones are haworthias, and from my understanding, haworthias don't really need as much light as the typical cactus or a succulent, so that I find interesting. I have to do a little bit more research on that. Really nice looking ones, and these are for 75% off, so that is a really good deal. I know that some of my viewers and subscribers love some succulents, so I'm gonna go ahead and just take a little bit of time to show you what kind of succulents and cactus they have. I am currently learning more about cactus and succulents. I really have to just sit down and do a little bit more research, just because growing up, I really didn't have the experience of growing succulents or cactus. Now, this one right here for $5.99 is just a green version of a Hoya carrii, and that is another type of plant species that a lot of people are into, is Hoyas. Notice that this echeveria right here is for $3.99, and it had some standing water. That's one thing you do not want to have on your succulents or cactus. You don't really want to get their foliage wet. Like, if possible, either bottom water them or just water the surface of the soil. Try not to get water to sit on the actual succulents, because that will end up rotting it, and that's just not good. The plant will actually decline in its health. I've noticed that. And also, I didn't realize that succulents may not always want to be in full sun. So I grew my Aeonium kiwi in full sun, and it did not do well. It actually ended up burning. So I just need to see what that that sweet spot is for the light, just because I would assume that if it's a cactus or succulent, it just wants to be in full sun. So plant foldies, let me know in the comments what your experience or care tips are for specific succulents. You can see right over here, we've got just rows and rows of haworthias. I've seen this being labeled as a succulent that is more low light tolerant. I'm not 100% sure. I would just assume that, something like this for $3.99 would still need quite a bit of light, being as it is a succulent. But that's the thing about plant growing, growing plants, your plant journey, like this one right here, beautiful pearls. String of pearls right here for $9.99. I would actually love to get a variegated version. But anyways, going back to just the whole plant journey and plant care, it is a learning process. You're constantly learning. So I always tell people, if you ever kill a plant or you don't do very well with a specific plant, don't beat yourself over. Give yourself a little bit of grace. I know that I have been giving myself a little bit of grace in terms of just how some of my plants look. I talked about doing a plant tour of my house and also just my outdoor plants. I will eventually do that, but I also have to realize that some of my plants may not look the best. Not everybody's, everybody doesn't always have that perfect plant collection. You'll have browning leaves. You'll have plants that just will die, even if you do try to give it the best care. It's part of plant growing. It's the same thing with like plant pests. As much as I am afraid about plant pests, it is something that I had to learn to accept it. Like, no matter how many times I spray my plants with like neem oil or pest preventative, it's inevitable that you'll get plant pests. The secret is, though, to capture the plant pest before it becomes a full-blown infestation. So the reason why I want to talk about that today is, while I go plant shopping and show you all of these beautiful succulents and just different types of plants at Calloways, I did want to touch on that subject about how many times have you killed a plant, no matter how much care did you give it. And then also for my plant foldies, do you end up just buying the same plant again? I talk about certain plants like the Hydra helix, or the correct way to say is Hedera helix English ivy. Like, I don't know why I am obsessed about that particular plant, but it's such a challenging plant. Or I've even had like some of my Syngoniums where I know it's my fault that I didn't water them for like 3 weeks to a month, and then I wonder why their leaves are crispy and they're just declining in health. But but then again, forgiving myself, knowing that as I do these YouTube videos, I mean, I attempt to literally do 1 hour plant shopping videos. It is time consuming while also balancing my life, my job, which, is pretty demanding. I work about a 10-hour shift, and I have like weekends every other weekend off. I'm just glad that I'm off this weekend and I'm able to make some more content. But plant care, growing plants indoors or even outdoors, it does require a lot of time. So it's a matter of me just really trying to find that balance. And, thinking of balance, I am excited about going to the Philippines. That's where my family's from, out for vacation. I have about 32 more days until I fly off. So super excited about that. But then I was thinking about how am I going to be able to premiere videos on a daily basis. So I figured that I may just do reruns and do compilations of some of my old plant shopping videos. I've just recently gotten a lot more subscribers, and that is really cool. So that means that you might be able to revisit some of my older videos. I mean, you'll still be able to see plants, and these compilation videos are going to be a little bit longer, about 2 to 3 hours. So if you want to go chat with the plant foldies, or just find a way to go in and out and of the chats and just kind of hang out, those are going to be available for you starting on June 27, 2024. So I passed by a bunch of really cool plants, like I showed you that desert rose, and then a bunch of these opuntia cactus right over here. These are all starter plants for, I believe, $3.99. I like the textures of cactus and succulents. A lot of people will do cactus or succulent arrangements. I wouldn't really grow a bunch of cactus or succulents in my landscape, however, just because I don't know if some of these cactus will be able to withstand the really cold winters. We get some really hard frost, sometimes even snow in North Dallas, and that's where I'm based at. So I don't really know too much about cactus to where you could really grow those in the landscape. Now, plant foldies that are growing, that actually live in a grow zone 8B, which is where my growing zone is. Let me know if you're able to grow certain cactus or succulents. But as you can see right here, there's so many different types of cactus. They've got different textures, colors, and these are not bad at all for $6.99. So like you'll actually get some pretty good value whenever you shop at Calloways. And again, what I like about Calloways is if you see one particular plant at a Calloways nursery, you can assume that that particular plant will also be available at another Calloways nursery. I would say I have been to a total of maybe close to 10 to 12 different type of Calloways nurseries in the Dallas Fort Worth area. They've got so many locations, and each location is run well. They have some really good, customer service, and they always have such a good variety of plants. I like their garden rewards program because then it holds all of your receipts. So in case you have to return a plant because you're not satisfied with it, it didn't do well for you, they will always return your plant as long as you bring the plant with you. No questions asked, and you're able to either buy a new plant. I tend to do that because sometimes whenever I return a plant, I end up buying 3 plants. So it's not like Calloways Nursery loses money from me by returning plants, because again, whenever you have beautiful cactus like this, or even succulents where you have such a good selection, you end up just buying more plants. And I'm telling you, plant foldies, I am going so broke. It is so easy to just spend money on, plants. But I have found a balance of like what plants I can grow, what plants I'm willing to spend money on. Like I have talked a lot about Coleus plants, for instance, very inexpensive plants. So it's one of those things where it doesn't really break the bank. Now there's some more rare Aroids or philodendron that I would totally buy as well, but I am kind of saving my money for PlantCon 2024. And you can see right here, these are on sale. These are some peanut cactus for 50% off. Now the cool thing about peanut cactus is it actually produces some beautiful blooms. I've seen peanut cactus bloom yellow blooms and pink blooms. That one is for 50% off in a hanging basket. So I think that's really cool. There's always a lot of sales that happens at Calloways Nursery. They have like a weekly ad. So if you live in the Dallas Fort Worth area, definitely film, or I would say I will film more of these Calloways nurseries. And if you get a chance, please make sure you are subscribing to my channel with the notification bell on. That way you are still looped in on what plants are being available or made available in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I found some really cool plants, and sometimes whenever I go plant shopping, like I don't even expect to find like a really cool plant, and then all of a sudden I have like a really cool plant find. And I think that's the reason why I continue to make these plant shopping videos. I know that the majority of plants that I show are plants that you've seen the previous day or the previous week, but it is just fun to be able to just pick up plants. You can even just go plant window shopping. I think that's the best thing for y'all, so that way you're not spending all your money like I am. I do appreciate the ones that have given me super stickers or super thanks on my videos. Those are really good tips. I don't mind getting a little bit of, cash money, just because it does support the channel. It does support my plant obsession. I mean, I'm constantly spending money on plants. So for those that have taken the time to send me just a little bit of money to fund my plants, thank you so much. You are, you can do that. You can actually send a super sticker or a super thanks on any of my videos. Even if you do a replay of them, there is a button there that you can press. So if you're looking for ways to support me, that's one way to do it. But honestly, the best way to do to support me at Growfolds is to literally watch my videos and also hit the subscribe button, also hit the like button. I didn't realize that when you hit the like button, YouTube really pushes my videos out to even more plant lovers like yourself. That way we can have more people enjoying like this beautiful variegated string of hearts. Now, I actually found a really cool variegated string of hearts at a big box store, Lowe's and Walmart, and they were selling those full baskets for $12.97. So yes, we can go to a local plant nursery like this, and the prices at a local plant nursery are typically a little bit more than a big box store, but you have more varieties of plants, and the health of the plant, as far as it being pest free, is a higher chance of it not having pests. So those are just some of my things that I talk about with my experience of like local plant nursery shopping, and I am a big advocate for those who want to shop at Calloways Nursery. They have beautiful plants like this. Like, I love Coleus plants. Look at how large this Coleus plant is, and it's only for $12.99. It is super full, it is super lush, and the trick to get a Coleus to look that full and lush is to cut it back. And again, whenever you cut back a Coleus plant, you can literally take the ones that you've cut, like the pieces of the Coleus plant, stick it in direct soil, and it will root within a week. I have gotten so many free plants, so many Coleus to really grow my collection, that I am really thinking about doing plant giveaways, sending plants out there. I am going to be sending out that Monstera Thai constellation that one of my followers on Instagram won during my first plant giveaway. I will be doing more plant giveaways, so stay tuned for that. But as you can see here, every Calloways looks similar, but I love how they just arrange their plants. You can see how beautiful this place is. It's not the biggest Calloways nursery, but I did notice this Calloways nursery does utilize a lot of that natural lighting to really give the light on these plants. With Coleus plants, they are very thirsty plants, number one, but number two, they come in so many different shapes, sizes, textures, colors, that it just becomes an exciting collection. Like this one right here is one I don't have. This is another flame Thor. This is the adobo pink. I will eventually get this one. That one is also for $12.99, and I would say the majority of my Coleus plants have come from Calloways Nursery. They just tend to just have so many different varieties to choose from. They've got proven winner ones, and I love the proven winner Coleus plants, but you can see here, these are just awesome. And again, these are for $12.99. Look at how full and lush this is. There are a couple of Coleus plants that I am growing to just be really tall at first, because I want to grow them into an actual Coleus tree. And you can even see right here, I actually have this Coleus, and what I love is it has different leaf interest. So you have all of that texture and coloration at the top of the leaf, but on the bottom of the leaf, you have more of a simple purple underside. It kind of reminds me of like Calatheas and how they have that leaf interest. Really like that a lot. And with Coleus plants, they're readily available. I was really shocked that I never paid attention to Coleus plants, and really a lot of people are also surprised to know that you can grow Coleus plants indoors as a tropical, like a household tropical plant. Whenever we think about indoor plants, we always think about plants that are Aroids, like philodendrons, anthuriums, things like that. But most people would never really think to just take a Coleus plant in and grow them as an indoor house plant. And this is the reason why today I want to show you guys plants that you can potentially grow indoors as well as a house plant. So you can see here all of these Coleus plants. The ones that I've just picked up are what you call Coleus plants. Now these Coleus get extremely large leaves. These leaves can get larger than my hand. You can see like right over here. And these Coleus though are not the Coleus at least are not very sun tolerant. They will burn if you give them direct sunlight, but if you give them bright indirect sun, morning sunlight is the best. You will get the best coloration for it, and that goes to just any plants in general. So when you think about coloration, variegation, there are a couple of factors that factor in. One is either the natural genetics of the plant. So like think of a philodendron pink princess. If it doesn't have like high variegation, most likely it will not get good variegation. It's just going to be that way because of its initial genetics. But if say you get a plant like a Coleus plant where it has all of that coloration, the more bright indirect light you give it, the better coloration it's going to get. So there's really a lot of factors, and that really depends on your research and learning more about plants. And as a person who loves plants, that talks about plants every day, super excited that every day we are able to chat on the chat. I will give you whatever information I end up learning about these plants. Like for instance, this is another purple heart plant. There is a variegated version of it called the variegated boat lily. The variegated boat lily, for instance, is purple, but it has pink variegation. Now with the purple heart plant, notice how this one is a little darker purple and then the other ones are a little bit more pink. Again, this plant can be grown in full sun, and when you give it full sun, it will get better coloration. It'll be more pinkish or even dark purple. And then this is a trade scanthia. So this is a different type of trade scanthia. I actually bought this. This one is only for $2.49. I bought this a couple weeks back, and it's already pushed out so much growth. I love this one though, even though it's just like a minty green tone because of the leaf texture. It's got a velvety, and it's actually called trade scanthia velvet. And then this one is the trade scanthia Sabrina right over here. This is a common one that you'll see. This one is extremely leggy though, so what I would do is actually chop this back into several cuttings and then plant it back into the pot to get more of a full plant. And that's the thing about Triscanthia. The only drawback is they're very easy, very vigorous growers. They can grow in like a hanging basket, and they come in different varieties. Like this one is a tricolor, so there are a little bit more variation in the color. That one's a little bit more compact in its growth as well. But you can see that these are plants that are grown as ground cover. But if you think about it, these are outdoor plants, but they are also being grown indoors. So if you want to just grow like that velvet Triscanthia, that's what I'm doing. I planted it in a 6-inch planter, and it has done very well for me. I'm going to let it trail and eventually grow it indoors when winter comes. And then all of these Coleus plants right over here. So hopefully you haven't gotten tired of Coleus plants. And if you have, I'm sorry. I just love Coleus plants, and I'm hoping that I can influence more people to get excited about it. But most Coleus plants are typically shade loving. They need to be more in the shade, but they have what they call sun Coleus, and these are all for $2.49. Sorry, $2.49. And notice how this one right here is a sun Coleus. This is a result of giving it a lot of light. I would say even full sun. You can get all that beautiful coloration here, and that's the thing. Coleus plants coloration really depends on the amount of light it receives. The more light it receives, especially for a sun Coleus, the better coloration. Like that particular Coleus plant right here is a sun Coleus. Notice how this one even has more electrifying colors. I really love that apricot peach color around it, and this would be one that I'm definitely going to buy today, because what I want to do is actually trim off the bottom leaves and let this just grow tall, and then when it gets to the height I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and chop the top off to promote more branching and eventually make it into a Coleus tree that I can grow indoors. But as you can see right here, you will save money going to like a local nursery like Calloways. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for Coleus plants or outdoor plants that you can grow indoors. What I've noticed is these plants that are ground cover plants, plants that are a little bit more annuals. You can grow them indoors. Here is a Coleus repens, which is basically a more compact version of a Tradescanthia that it just grows smaller foliage. These are also grown indoors as well, but these are also grown outdoors as ground cover. So as I pan over here, these plants are all only for $2.49 in those starter pots, and I really love that. I do want to get some more Swedish ivy. So you've got two different Swedish ivy. This one's got more of the neon green color. Swedish ivy, it's a very vigorous grower. It is one that you can definitely grow indoors. So if you want a nice trailing plant, you can get English ivy, or I'm not sorry, English ivy. Well, you can get that too, but it's going to give you a pain. But Swedish ivy are a little bit easier, or actually a lot easier than English ivy. Notice how this one has purple undersides, the stems are purple, and I like the nuances when it comes to plants, like the coloration on stems, the texture of the leaves. But these are only for $2.49, so I may end up just buying a starter. Like if you just bought one of each, you will eventually be able to grow that, take cuttings and propagate it and get more of a full plant. And then we've just got some more assorted ivy. This is your favorite Hydra helix, or the correct way to say it is Hedera helix, which is also known as the English ivy. Now, for those that are new to this channel or are literally watching a video for the first time, I mispronounce Hedera helix as saying Hydra helix, because when I first started doing plant shopping videos, I was just mispronouncing it, and for some reason people just caught on to it and ended up liking me say that. I know some people have varying opinions about how I say Hydra helix, but I just think it's funny, and for those that appreciate it, I appreciate you. It is a classic plant foldy saying. I may eventually make a Hedera helix or Hydra helix t-shirt, so stay tuned for that. And then you can see right over here, airplane plant. It looks like a spider plant. Love the variegation on that as well. That one can take full sun. And then we've got a bunch of beautiful dark foliage plants. So all of these dark foliage plants, especially these coral bells, look at how beautiful they are. They almost look like begonias almost. And look at that subtle grayness that it has. Now with coral bells, I think typically they can either do well in a lot of sun or shade. They come in different varieties. So notice that they have the dark foliage ones. I honestly prefer the dark foliage plants. There's just a certain elegance that comes from like a purple plant. And then we also have these golden looking ones right here. And we've got some more maroon magenta ones. And then over here, we've got a bunch of hanging baskets of purslane plants. I didn't realize that you can actually eat that. It is a superfood. Now do your research first. Don't, go buy it and said that, Richie said at Growfolds that you can eat these plants. Definitely do your research on it, but I was told that you can eat purslane leaves. It's a superfood, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I wouldn't do it myself personally. It is interesting though. And then you can see there plumeras I don't really grow just because they can be finicky as well. Like I wouldn't be able to grow them over the winter. And you can see there's a bunch of geraniums for 50% off, and they've got a lot of water fixtures right over here. So I would love to get a water fixture. I think the sound of water is super relaxing. And then when you think about it, certain sounds for me are relaxing, and that would be like even the water fixture. I am flattered and honored that some of you guys enjoy just listening to me talk about plants. I've been told in the comment section, or even been sent a direct message on Instagram that you'll just literally turn on my videos and like either go to sleep or relax. So I really want to be that vessel. I really want to be able to help people unwind, help people de-stress, help people with mental health in terms of just looking at these plants, providing this content. And so if you do enjoy it, please make sure you are hitting the subscribe button with the notification bell on. There have been a lot of longtime viewers that didn't realize that they were still not subscribed to my channel. So definitely do that. I am hoping that we can get to 10,000 subscribers by the beginning of June. And that really just goes to the help with, if you are hitting the like button and leaving plenty of comments in the comment section, that will push the content out to more people. But you can see here, hosta night before Christmas. So hostas are perennial plants that are easy, that like to be in shade. So that was another plant that I thought about growing indoors, but long term, I don't think it would necessarily do well. And then over here, we've got a sea of caladiums and a bunch of hanging baskets of ferns. So I don't know all of my caladium plant IDs. What I do know is Calloways has Such a good variety of caladiums, and these ones in the 6-inch planters are for $14.99. So these are the ones that you can literally just take indoors to grow as an indoor plant, or grow them outdoors in a shaded area, in a shaded patio. They make gorgeous looking container plants for a patio. And I am gonna buy some more caladiums. A couple years back I bought a bunch of caladiums actually from Costco, and they sprouted, and I literally had a whole back patio full of caladiums. I may insert some of my old school garden plants just because I was super proud that I was able to get a bunch of caladiums to grow. And the thing about caladiums though is, while they can be grown indoors, they do go through a dormancy period, so I don't think you would be able to keep a caladium year round. They do die back in the winter, but then they will come back again in the late spring, early summer, when temperatures are a little bit warmer. But you can see here, they've just got different types of textures on the leaves, different colors. And now with caladiums, you don't want to overwater them as well, just because they come from bulbs, and if you rot the bulb, then you kill the plant. But as you can see here, I love the veining on the caladium. So plant foldies, let me know in the comments if you are growing caladiums. What do you think about caladiums? I think caladiums with this leaf shape that they have are more colorful versions of like syngoniums or even alocasia. They do have thinner leaves, so they will burn in full sun, so it's not a good idea to do that. I've noticed that even with the really white varieties or really light pink ones, they tend to not do as well with more sun exposure. However, here's the catch: the more bright indirect light that you give the caladium, the better coloration it's going to get. And if you are a fan of pink plants, or just plants with beautiful textures, like this one looks like somebody just splattered a bunch of red paint on it, caladiums are for you. They are an easy to care for plant. They are a plant that even for a beginner I would recommend. Now if you are going to grow caladiums indoors, you really want to provide it with a lot of bright indirect light, so maybe an east facing window would do well. Make sure that you inspect though for spider mites. So whenever you take a plant that is theoretically grown mostly outdoors, there is a chance of plant pests, especially spider mites. I would say that caladiums brought indoors would have a higher chance of getting spider mites. So just make sure you are soaking the leaves up with water, or better yet, even spraying them with a preventative spray like neem oil spray, because like even this is one that I really like. Look at that pink on it. So I'm going to probably buy that variety as well. But as you can see here, just so many different varieties of caladiums. Look at these ones. These were larger as well. Look at how large it is, and look at how large these leaves can get. So overall, I would love to see caladiums in a landscape. I don't really have a lot of shade in my landscape, both the backyard or my front landscape. So I don't think caladiums would necessarily would grow well from my landscape. I am gonna buy this particular caladium. I love that red one right there. This one is really cool. I will repot it in a 6-inch planter. I have been collecting a lot of planters from Target. They had these threshold matte finish planters that were 30% off, and I basically just stocked a bunch of them. And that's the thing about plants. I also love plant styling and just plants and planters. One particular planter that I like, what I think about is the ones that I saw at Peta's Planters, which is another local plant nursery out in Dallas. If you haven't checked out that video, please check out Peta's Planters. She and her partner David have some amazing handmade planters that really fit my personal aesthetic. But as you can see here, very windy day. It's a very hot day, but I will go out and show you guys plants because I don't want to disappoint either. Like, I want to be able to show you these like beautiful plants like this on a daily basis, because I find that plant shopping, creating these plant shopping videos is really therapeutic for me as well. I love the fact that our community is growing. And so, if you like this content and you made it this far into the video, please make sure you are hitting that like button. But this caladium, for instance, has that beautiful red veining, and you can see that they just have so many bright colors. I would say colorful plants definitely bring a certain impact of joy. It brings positive vibes, and that's the reason why I love colorful plants. When you think about Coleus plants, Aglaonema, caladiums, those types of plants, those are plants that are typically colorful in nature. And so that's probably why I prefer that, because they really just bring my mood and give me like a really nice positive vibe. Now, Calloways Nursery also has a lot of outdoor plants, outdoor landscaping, trees. It is super windy right now and my allergies are going crazy, but I did want to show you another interest of mine, and that is Acer palmatum, or Japanese maple. So prior to even just indoor plants and outdoor gardening, I love Japanese maples. I love collecting maples in general, whether it's outside of the Japanese maple realm. You can see right here, that is a Tamakuyama lace leaf Japanese maple, and then we have this beautiful green Japanese maple here. Now the green varieties of Japanese maples are a little bit more sun and heat tolerant as compared to the lace leaves or the red Japanese maples. Now with Japanese maples, especially growing them in North Texas, you really can't grow them in full sun, and if you do grow them in full sun, that is because that particular tree has really acclimated to the weather. I always believe that plants, whether they are more naturally inclined to grow in like lower light tolerant conditions or full sun, they eventually acclimate to the environment. Whether they are going to thrive or not is a different question. But with Japanese maples, I really love them a lot. There's one particular plant nursery that specializes in Japanese maples, and that is called Metro Maples in Fort Worth, Texas. I've made several Japanese maple nursery videos on the channel, so if you get a chance, check that out. But as you can see right here, like this red variety of Japanese maple is what you call an Emperor One. And what I love about the Emperor One is it's actually more of a heat tolerant Japanese maple. It can take a little bit more sun. That one is for $299. And while some people might think that the pricing for Japanese maples is quite expensive, it is really not. When you think about how long it takes to grow these trees, they are a very slow growing tree. They're not like other maples that are more vigorous. Japanese maples are very slow to grow. So that's the reason why some of the plant pricing is a little bit more costly, but it is worth it. The characteristic of a Japanese maple, it just grows elegantly, and that's a lot with a lot of the Japanese plants. Like even with the tropical Aroids, there is just a certain level of appreciation the Japanese have in terms of hybridizing their plants. And you know, we'll get into that more so as I do more plant shopping videos. But you can see here, these are called vinca vines or periwinkle. These are the variegated forms. So we're looking at all of these ground covers. So all of these ground covers can potentially be grown as an indoor plant. Like this one is an Asiatic jasmine, but this one is the variegated form. This one is one that has like white variegation. So I'm assuming that this variegation is really more influenced by the amount of light you give it. Notice that the stems have gotten a little bit woody. So this is definitely one that I could potentially see myself growing as an indoor plant. Now I would say most likely this is really more meant to be outdoors. So whenever you think about outdoor plants that are being grown indoors, you really have to assess what type of like lighting conditions you give it, and also the pest control. Like I always assume something that went outdoors indoors is probably going to get spider mites, so you want to make sure you stay on top of like the spraying. And I know that you guys think it's silly, but I don't know why I love ajuga plants. So this just looks like a typical like vegetable plant, but today I'm going to be buying this particular ajuga plant right here, this black one. Love dark foliage plants. You know, I might end up just doing a gothic garden. So plant foliage, let me know what you think. But look at how the undersides are green, but the top is black. I'm assuming that this stays more of a dark color with the more the more light you give it. Now what I love about ajuga is they have a variety of lighting conditions they can grow. They can grow in a lot of light or full sun, or they can grow in more like lower shade areas. So I really like that a lot. I have gotten two different ajuga plants, variegated ajuga plants, and it's because I love the variegation. Like I love the lavender, the pink, the creams, and we're gonna walk over to, so this is what I'm talking about. I almost want to just buy this one right here and just plant it in another container. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, most people would never really think to grow this indoors, but this is a plant that I am growing in containers outdoors for now. It has grown a lot. It's a vigorous grower, and that's another thing that I love about plants. Plants that are fast at growing, and just you can see that there's all these like aerial roots that you can chop up and make propagations, are plants that I'm really into. Let me know if you would consider growing a variegated ajuga plant or even the black version. I would love to know if people really do that. Now they say as a ground cover this could be an invasive plant since it is very quick to grow. So if you're going to grow that that as a ground cover. Just remember that it needs to be in a contained bed. You don't want to just plant that out in your lawn, otherwise it could take over. It's kind of like mint. Well, actually mint is more invasive, but you don't want to just let loose of that. It's the same thing with the Kedra helix or English ivy. You can grow that as ground covers, but they are very invasive as well. Now, aglaonema, this is one of my favorite aglaonemas, and I'm glad that I found this. This one is for $39.99. This is an aglaonema cutlass. Now, what I like about the aglaonema cutlass, it looks like an aglaonema Juliet, but this one even has more narrow leaves, and it has more of a minty, lighter green to it. And then as you can see right here, we've just got a classic Monstera deliciosa. So I love Monstera deliciosa as well. This one is for $16.99. Really like the look of the Monstera deliciosa. And what I like about it is, even though the green variety may be more of an underrated plant now, just because more people are interested in the variegated forms, it is an easy to care for plant. Just remember to give it a lot of bright indirect light for it to really grow well. Same thing with this aglaonema pink. This one is for $29.99. Beautiful plant, and notice that this has a lot of coloration, but if you give it even more light, it's going to have even more pink. And this is a common, but you know that I will always feature an aglaonema red siam. If this is a Grow Folds video, you will see an aglaonema red siam. Love this aglaonema. While it is common, while my people will say it's a basic plant, it is a common plant because it's an easy to care for plant, and it is a beautiful plant. Like, I love the pink stems on it. And then we have some Monstera Thai constellations. So these are in 6-inch planters for $89.99, and it is slightly expensive considering you can find Monstera Thai constellations for a little bit less now, since they are showing up at big box stores. Now with this Monstera Thai constellation, I would tell you that the variegation is definitely stable. So you will always get some splotches of variegation, since it is what they call a tissue cultured type plant. However, Monstera Thai constellation, since now they're more readily available in the market, I would be more picky about the variegation of Monstera Thai constellation. Some people say that the amount of light you give it will encourage better variegation. I've seen that, but then again, some Monstera Thai constellation just are not meant to have that great variegation. This Ficus triangularis variegated form for $29.99 is one of my favorite ficus that I find at Calloways. I love how it has a beautiful triangular shape. I love how it's variegated, and they have the braided forms where they basically took several Ficus triangularis and had them braided, and they've even started to kind of fuse together. I have made one into a bonsai, and it is doing extremely well for me. I grow it outside now. With Ficus triangularis, especially with that beautiful variegation, it is known to be a little bit more of a finicky plant. It is a plant that will drop its leaves when it's not happy, kind of like the same thing with just most ficus plants in general. But if you're able to give it the right lighting conditions, they will do very well for you. I tend to think that ficus plants do better outdoors, and this one right here is just a Chiflera plant or an umbrella plant. I love this plant as well. It's an easy to care for plant, and surprisingly, I'm growing the variegated form in full sun in Texas hot weather, and it is not burning. None of the variegation is going bad, like it's not crisping up, and it's doing very well. And then obviously, if I find this, I'm gonna tell you guys about it, and that is the Hydra Helix. I know that I've said that Hydra Helix quite a bit this time, and I felt like I needed to bring it back just a little bit because I did tone it down on a couple of the shopping videos that I've done in the last couple of days. But as you can see right here, that one is the Gold Baby Hydra Helix or English Ivy. Love the English Ivy. The reason why I like it is because it does remind me of maple leaves, maple tree leaves, and it's just a plant that has become a challenge for me, and I may revisit it, not now just because I'm still struggling on keeping up with like my watering, like the basic functions of just even taking care of plants. I feel bad, and you know, with the Hydra Helix or English Ivy that we have right over here, they've got them trailing too. Like, look at how beautiful they are when they start trailing. I just wish they could grow like pothos plants where you can just grow them indoors and they're not as finicky. But unfortunately, English Ivy, they end up just becoming spider mite magnets. Seriously, like if you bring a English Ivy into your home, just know you're also inviting a pest unless you are just spraying that down on a weekly basis. Here is a Tradescanthia Nanook. Love this as well for $9.99. I did find these Tradescanthia Nanooks for a little bit cheaper at Lowe's. They were offering them for like $5.49. So that's the thing about plant shopping. It's not always about whether you want to just shop at a big box store and assume that it's going to be cheaper. Sometimes you get plants like this Alocasia Silver Dragon, for instance, $14.99. It's not bad. If you buy a Trending Tropicals Custom Farms version, it'll be $19.84. But it's about just comparing and contrasting the prices of plants. They do vary from like locations and just how readily they are available at certain places. Some parts of the country in the United States, there are plants that are a little bit more readily available than others. And that's the thing. I actually want to know, plant foldies, in the comments where you guys are from, like where you're based at. I really want to learn more about you guys. So if you get a chance, especially for my plant foldy community that's always on the live premiere chats, I know that there's a lot of Canadian plant foldies, and shout out to all of the Canadian plant foldies. Thank you so much for always tuning in. But for those that are in the United States or even outside of the United States, could you please leave a comment on where you are based at? I'd really like to know. It's just quite interesting just to see where everybody's at. And then you can even let me know what plants are readily available or more common to find and what that plant pricing looks like. I just know in the North Dallas area, we have just a lot of plants that some people say are not as readily available. So I find that interesting just because I would never really think of the Dallas area as being a mecca for like tropical plants. But for some reason, I have luckily been able to go into like plant shops like this one or the big box store and really find plants. Like you can see here, all of these pothos plants that I just panned over are beautiful. These are all for $16.99. Now this is the Epipremnum aureum Pearls and Jade. What I love about Pearls and Jade is it does have almost a similar look to the Enjoy, but it has a little bit more grayish green versus like a deep green color for the variegation. And then you can see right over here, Calatheas. Calatheas are the biggest divas in terms of just the plant and what it requires. It likes water that is not from the tap. It likes humidity. It likes to stay moist. It likes consistency. And if you don't give it to that, it will crisp up. It will actually, if you like underwater it, and I've done that a couple of times with my Calatheas, sometimes they may not recover from being underwatered, or if you don't water them for a long period of time, they just kind of end up getting very sick, and then they just end up dying. So that's not a plant that I would recommend for myself long term unless I'm growing them hydroponically. Same thing with this. Like, look at how beautiful this Dieffenbachia is, and this is for $16.99. I love the look of a Dieffenbachia just because it has that high variegation. They've got some light foliage, but Dieffenbachia require quite a bit of light. And if you don't provide it that light, it will become very leggy. And also Dieffenbachia are not pet friendly. It's a highly toxic plant. So if you cut it and you get some on your skin, it can actually irritate, it can irritate your skin. So you just have to be mindful of that. Now here is an easy to care for plant, Dracaena Janet Craig compacta. This is a plant that most people will not even think about getting. But what's cool is you see how that this plant is kind of small. This can get up to 3 to 4 feet tall, and it becomes more of like a cane tree type of plant. So as it gets mature, the lower leaves do die off. So it's natural. It will get leggy from that end, but it is an easy to care for plant. It's a plant that can tolerate lower light conditions, and you don't have to water it as much, and it will still do well. Same thing with ZZ plants. So if you're going to ask me what the easiest plant to take care of, I would say it's a ZZ plant. The only way you could really kill a ZZ plant is if you overwater it. So for those like me who don't really water their plants as much as they need to be, that is a plant that I would recommend. And then you can see right here, this is an Epipremnum aureum golden pothos on a totem. So notice how the leaves get a little bit larger. I prefer growing pothos up a pole just because you get larger leaves, and really that's the natural way for the pothos plant to grow. In the wild, they like to attach onto like trees, and it's just an interesting look about it. I've seen them where the leaves can get up to like 4 to 5 feet in width, and it's just amazing to see that. And then you can see right here, we've got another Schefflera plant and a bunch of Phalaenopsis orchids. See, notice how the Phalaenopsis orchids has several different varieties of colors, and I love it as well. I would love to be able to grow several different types of orchids, maybe having like a living wall where I can just literally put a bunch of orchids there. I actually am thinking about doing that, but again, it's just a matter of whether I'm going to be able to grow these long term and really have the time to care for them. And then you can see right here, they've got some more totems of Epipremnum pinnatum, neon. So these in the Philippines are called tibati, and that's really where my family's from, is the Philippines. Those grow like weeds, and that's the really interesting thing. It's like whenever I look at Phalaenopsis orchids, or even those like Epipremnum pinnatums, it reminds me of my home country, because these plants can grow so easily in such tropical weathers. And that's the thing, you know, a lot of these tropical plants, you know, you take them overseas, you take them into the United States, and they don't necessarily have that tropical weather. You know, a lot of these plants require a little bit more humidity, and right now in Texas it is humid, but it is extremely hot, and that's just not a good combination for some of these plants. But overall, love those Phalaenopsis orchids, love that Schefflera, variegated Schefflera. I would recommend that. And those Scheffleras, or those variegated umbrella plants, can become really nice looking indoor trees. You can see right over here. I also like looking at this plant right here. I don't know the plant ID, but what I like about this is it has several different types of interest. So you've got the beautiful blooms that are more like clusters, and then you have the green foliage on top, and then the purple underside foliage, and then also the purple stems. I am all about the different color stems, like aglaonemas with white stems, for instance, I love. And then I also love crotons. This is a croton petra. It is probably the most common croton you'll run into. The thing about crotons, again, it is one of those plants that are marketed to be grown indoors, but they're really meant to be outdoors. So if you're going to grow a croton plant, it needs a lot of light. It also needs to, it's finicky in its watering as well. Like sometimes if you overwater it, it'll die. If you underwater it, it'll die. It's just a finicky plant. So it's one of the more challenging plants. Persian purple shield plant is another beautiful plant that I love. Like, can you tell me that this is not a gorgeous plant? Look at how beautiful the leaves are. Look at the texture, look at the shine. And I actually like that one. That one is a little bit more full than the one I have. I actually bought one, but it has like larger leaves, but it's a little bit leggy. So I may end up just buying this one right there. Those are for $6.99. And then you can see here more Main Street type Coleus plants. So that's another like series of Coleus plants that are called Main Street. So all of these Main Street Coleus plants are named after a specific street. This one is really interesting as well. It looks similar to some of the other Coleus. So some Coleus end up just looking alike. Same thing with aglaonemas. But again, these are all for $12.99. And so if you are in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you're able to go to Calloways, get yourself some Coleus plants. Be like me, start talking about Coleus. I know that there's certain people that have Coleus obsessions. I can't be the only one. I've seen some people on Instagram that are plantfoldy starting to buy some Coleus plants. So I'm glad that I was able to at least influence some of you guys. Like this one right here is a really cool one. I love the look of this one. This is the wedding train Coleus. So this one is more of a trailing Coleus plant that you can grow in a hanging basket. But as you can see here, more and more plants. Look at all the colors, and all of these plants that are grown outdoors, like the polka dot plant, beautiful pink foliage. Love this a lot. Very hard plant to grow though long term. They just end up getting too crispy if you don't give it enough humidity. They do better in like the outdoor patio area, just like a shaded area. But again, if you're able to give it that right lighting condition, right humidity levels, and watering conditions, any plant that is meant to grow outdoors can be grown indoors. And really that is the theme of this plant shopping video, is just showing you these different plants. Now for this one, I love this fuchsia plant right here. These are, look at those beautiful flowers, right? These are great hanging basket plants. Now, as far as growing these indoors long term, I'm not 100% sure, just because when you think about plants that have flowers, that produce flowers, growing them long term indoors would just require them to have a lot more light, because flowering causes the plant to really take a lot of energy, and in order for a plant to get energy, it needs light, it needs to photosynthesize. So I'm not sure if that can grow long term. Now this is a Senecio Angel Wings. I see this often at Calloways Nursery, and I think this is stunning. It doesn't even look like a real plant. It almost reminds me of Dusty Miller. This one is for $14.99. I'm not sure if you could grow this indoors. I would say if I were to grow this indoors, I would just need to do my research on the lighting requirements and whether it is drought tolerant or more of a thirsty plant. And then you can see here several flowers right over here as well. A lot of these flowers can be grown in just containers that would make it nice. And then you can see this is a proven winners Persian purple shield. Look at how beautiful that is. That is an absolutely stunning plant. Now, the only thing about Persian purple shield is if you put that in full sun, it will crisp up and die. It will easily burn. So just be mindful of that. But anybody that has grown purple shield indoors, let me know in the comments section how long you were able to grow it. Have you been able to grow it long terms? And as you guys can tell, I have really asked a lot of questions during my plant shopping videos. I may not always get to the plant pricing, although all of these Coleus that I'm going to show you, like this Color Blaze Royale Pineapple Brandy by Proven Winners, this one is for $7.99. So you get a lot of these quart-sized Coleus plants at a good price. I actually propagated a lot of these particular ones, and this is probably my favorite Proven Winners Coleus plant. This is the Coleus Fishnet Stockings one. Look at that as well. And the thing is, I love just the veining of it. It looks like fishnets. And then also these Proven Winner Caladiums, these heart-to-heart ones. This one is a lemon bush one. Look at how beautiful it is. It's got more of a neon green color around it. So it's not the typical caladium color that you would typically see. But as I walk over here, I've got some more Coleus fish net stockings. These are also in biodegradable planters, so it looks like plastic, but these are not plastic planters. And I do commend and appreciate Proven Winners for really trying to be more green and be more sustainable in how they sell their plants. Like, I think that there's so many plastic containers for plants, and when you think about it, if a plant dies in a nursery or even in a big box store, that plastic container ends up in the trash and there's more of a carbon footprint. So I've kind of touched base on that a little bit, and that's the thing about these plant shopping videos. You'll hear me really talk about just my thoughts. They could be all over the place, but I tend to just not have an actual script when it comes to me making these voiceovers. I will say this though, this abutilon, I think that's how you pronounce it, or flowering maple, is beautiful. It's not necessarily a maple tree, but it does have beautiful flowers. This is some aster flowers right here for $12.99. I love the purple and like pink varieties. I love the purple plants actually, and pink plants. I just like colorful plants in general, but dark foliage plants, neon color foliage plants, and beautiful sunflowers, like bright colors, really bring me a lot of joy. But to go back to it, a lot of my plant shopping videos, as you can tell, I am just candidly having a conversation. It's almost like a podcast type feel. I don't know if you guys get that vibe. Oh, by the way, look at how cool this straw flower plant is. It doesn't even look like a real plant, but it is. I just feel like that's what gives my plant videos a little bit of a different twist. Maybe I could try doing a script, but then I don't really feel like that would be as organic. And for me, I like to be a really authentic person in just how I express my thoughts. I may not be perfect at pronouncing these plant names, but what I am happy about and really passionate about is the fact that I am sharing with you guys my love for plants, whether it's indoors, outdoors, plants. Like, there's just a lot of varieties, but I do think that a lot of these outdoor annuals can be grown indoors. So I'm going to attempt like all of these caladiums, all of these coleus plants, all of these ground covers. I really want to try and grow some of these indoors. I am excited. I am going to attempt to try to show you guys my plant home, like do a plant home tour before I head to the Philippines. So if you really want to see that, please leave that in the comments, give me a like, and just check it out. But you can see here, I am showing you a bunch of these ground covers, and a lot of these ground covers actually can be put in a container. Like today, I wasn't expecting to buy another Swedish ivy white edge, but look at this one right here. So notice that these ones have been grown in full sun. It's got more of a bleached look about it. It's not bad, it's not burning, but there's also some of that pink variegation. And there's one particular that I like. I think, is it this one? Or I might have knocked it over. Let me see. This one? No, there's one that I saw that had some trailing on it, but it also could be like a tree form. Like, look, notice how this one is sun stressed. It has pink variegation because it's gotten so much light. But I'm thinking about getting this Swedish ivy white edge and actually making it into a bonsai tree, like actually growing it as a bonsai tree, like taking some of the lower leaves and really just creating some branches. Now, these are the alternanthera, I think, alternanthera plants. So this is a Brazilian hots one, red hots one. I love this one. I am already growing that in a container. That's in full sun, but I think I want to get this Joseph's coat one as well. Look at that variegation and coloration on it. Love that it has different types of colors. Now these are all for I believe $4.99. I don't mind buying this because it kind of reminds me of like buying a Costa Farms Exotic Angels plant at a big box store. And then this one right here is another Alternanthera yellow. So this one's got that golden look about it. All of the plants I just picked up do require a lot of light. I am growing all of these in full sun. I will buy the other two that I just picked up, the yellow one and then the Joseph's coat one. But if you put them right next to each other, what beautiful colors they have. And then all of these Coleus that you can see right here, this is a Coleus flamethrower chili pepper. These are all Coleus plants that you can put in full sun and they will do very well. So that's the beauty about these plants. You know, they get hybridized and then, you know, they start picking these specific genetics where these plants can tolerate a certain condition. And check this Celosa plant. Now, normally you'll see a Celosa where it looks more like feathers. This one has a different interesting flower on it. What a cool looking plant. But as you guys can see, plant foldies, I just wanted to show you what plants they have here. Most of the plants hopefully have given you some interest, possibly growing the outdoor plants indoors. If you like this video, please hit the like button. I hope everybody has had a great Memorial Day weekend. I've been able to check out some of these plant chopping videos and been able to at least try to get you some more content. Stay tuned for local plant videos this week. I plan to do that. This is Richie at Grow Folds. Please subscribe to my channel and I will definitely see you on the next video tomorrow. Hopefully, if I don't have a video, it's going to be a compilation. So check that out. I'll see you later. Bye.